What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com. Here are my DFS picks for NBA Sunday, May 1st. These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button and hit that bell icon so you don't miss our new videos. In this video, I'm going to go over my top picks for today's NBA slate. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made. Okay guys, NBA playoffs. We have a 2-game slate today. So let's take a look at the point guard position. So the stud on the slate, well, one of two studs, but he is a decent amount more expensive than Stephen Curry. It's Ja Morant from the Memphis Grizzlies playing the Golden State Warriors. Ja Morant has averaged 47.1 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 33 minutes per game with a 34% usage rate. He's projected at 50 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.2 times value. He's $6,900 DraftKings salary, $400 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 220.5 points scored in this game, and Ja Morant has scored 47, 65, and 46 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 38, 44, and 33 minutes. So I like Ja Morant here versus the Golden State Warriors. Now the other stud on the slate that I like is Stephen Curry from the Golden State Warriors playing the Memphis Grizzlies. Stephen Curry has averaged 45.8 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 35 minutes per game with a 31% usage rate. He's projected at 42.8 fantasy points here tonight, but I think he can score 45 fantasy points or more and get you over 5 times value. He's $8,900 DraftKings salary, $600 more on FanDuel, and Stephen Curry has scored 48, 59, and 39 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 37, 36, and 30 minutes. So I like Stephen Curry here versus the Memphis Grizzlies. Okay, now coming down in salary at the point guard position, take a look at Marcus Smart from the Boston Celtics playing the Milwaukee Bucks. Marcus Smart has averaged 29.3 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 32 minutes per game with an 18% usage rate. He's projected at 30.3 fantasy points here tonight. That's just about 5 times value. He's $6,200 DraftKings salary, $100 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 217.5 points scored in this game. And Marcus Smart has scored 45, 31, and 22 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 36, 38, and 35 minutes. So he's got a wide range of outcomes. He can put up 25 fantasy points, 35, or 45. I mean, he just is not super consistent, but he is playing a lot of minutes. And I think that he's going to do well in this matchup here versus the Bucks, who give up the 10th most fantasy points to opposing point guards. So I like Marcus Smart here versus the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, here's a high-risk, high-reward play. It all depends on how many minutes are they going to play this guy, but his salary is low enough where I think he's worth the risk if you don't want to play Marcus Smart. Now, I probably wouldn't play these guys in the same lineup, but take a look at Derek White from the Boston Celtics playing the Milwaukee Bucks. Derek White has averaged 28.2 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 29 minutes per game with a 21% usage rate. Now, he's projected at 23.6 fantasy points here tonight, but it really depends on how many minutes he's going to play. And he's only $3,900 DraftKings salary, $200 more on FanDuel. And you can see in the last 3 games, he scored 20, 13, and 8 fantasy points, playing 26, 13, and 13 minutes. So if I could get Derek White for 20 to 25 plus minutes at $3,900 DraftKings salary, I think that that's a great value play. But if he goes out there and only plays 10 to 15 minutes, now that's not looking so good. So high risk, high reward play here. If you do need to save some salary in your lineup, take a look at Derek White here versus the Milwaukee Bucks.
Before I continue with the picks, I'm excited today because we added a new contest for everyone watching.
If you want to enter the drawing for $25 PayPal,
all you need to do is like this video, hit that subscribe button, and make a quick comment below to be entered into the drawing. We'll reply to a random comment and let you know that you won.
And we'll send you $25 PayPal.
So it's that easy, and we pick a new winner every Saturday and announce them in our video. So get your comment in now so I can add another entry for you.
Okay, let's take a look at the shooting guard position. I like Desmond Bane from the Memphis Grizzlies playing the Golden State Warriors. And Desmond Bane has averaged 31.8 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 30 minutes per game with a 23% usage rate. He's projected at 36.6 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.3 times value. He's $6,900 DraftKings salary, $400 more on FanDuel, and Desmond Bane has scored 37, 42, and 48 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 43, 44, and 34 minutes. So I like Desmond Bane here versus the Golden State Warriors. Okay, now just a little bit more on DraftKings, only 200 more, but actually 600 less on FanDuel, so I love this as a FanDuel play. Take a look at Klay Thompson from the Golden State Warriors, and Klay Thompson has averaged 32.6 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 29 minutes per game with a 30% usage rate, but he's projected at 35.3 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5 times value. So he's $7,100 DraftKings salary, where on DraftKings, I don't know, I think I would prefer Desmond Bane for 200 less, but he's 600 less on FanDuel, where Desmond Bane is 400 more on FanDuel. So it's a pretty big price swing between the two sites. So I love that FanDuel price for Klay Thompson at only $6,500 FanDuel salary. I think it makes a great play. And Klay Thompson, did I tell you how many points he scored? He scored 41, 44, and 35 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 39, 30, and 37 minutes. My memory is just like a goldfish here, guys. I swear, I forget if I gave you stats, and it just happened like a minute ago. So anyways, I do like Klay Thompson, especially on FanDuel here versus the Memphis Grizzlies. Okay, another shooting guard that I like coming down in salary is Dillon Brooks from the Memphis Grizzlies playing the Golden State Warriors. Dillon Brooks has scored 29.2 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 28 minutes per game with a 29% usage rate. He's projected at 31 fantasy points here tonight, and that's 5.4 times value. He's $5,800 DraftKings salary, 600 less on FanDuel, and Dillon Brooks has scored 34, 21, and 32 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing plenty of minutes here. He played 31, 35, and 34 minutes. So I like Dillon Brooks, again, especially on FanDuel here versus the Golden State Warriors. Okay, let's take a look at the small forward position. I like Jalen Brown from the Boston Celtics playing the Milwaukee Bucks. Jalen Brown has averaged 39.4 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 34 minutes per game with a 31% usage rate. He's projected at 40.3 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.1 times value. He's $7,900 DraftKings salary, same price on FanDuel. And Jalen Brown's been pretty consistent, scoring 38, 39, and 41 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 37, 37, and 39 minutes. So I like Jalen Brown here versus the Milwaukee Bucks. Okay, let's take a look at the power forward position. I like Giannis Antetokounmpo from the Milwaukee Bucks playing the Boston Celtics. Giannis has averaged 58 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 33 minutes per game with a 35% usage rate. He's projected at 58.7 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.3 times value. He's $11,000 DraftKings salary, $800 more on FanDuel. And Giannis has scored 48, 68, and 40 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 30, 34, and 29 minutes. So Giannis has the biggest ceiling on the slate. He can put up 70 plus fantasy points if he gets going. So I like Giannis Antetokounmpo here versus the Boston Celtics.
Real quick guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all of our DFS tools for all sports. You can try the Position Optimizer where you can see the top players ranked for each position. And we added a new Player Trends tool where you can see the top salary differences between FanDuel and DraftKings. It's a really good tool to help you pick out value for the site that you're playing on. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups.
Okay, now these guys are all power forward center eligible. So I'm just gonna give you all these guys at the power forward position, but you can also play all of these next 4 guys at the center position. So the first guy that I like, that I think's interesting here, he's been productive, been playing a bunch of minutes. His salary is pretty low still, or it's reasonable. So I like Draymond Green from the Golden State Warriors playing the Memphis Grizzlies. Draymond Green has averaged 30.8 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 29 minutes per game with a 14% usage rate. He's projected at 32.9 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5 times value. He's $6,600 DraftKings salary, $400 more on FanDuel. And Draymond Green has scored 31, 40, and 32 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 36, 34, and 35 minutes. So I'm not in love with Draymond Green. Probably wouldn't play him on FanDuel, but I think on DraftKings, I think his salary is just about right. So I like Draymond Green on DraftKings here versus the Memphis Grizzlies. Another power forward slash center eligible player is Bobby Portis from the Milwaukee Bucks playing the Boston Celtics. Bobby Portis has averaged 31.5 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 28 minutes per game with a 21% usage rate. He's projected at 29 fantasy points here tonight, but I think he can score more than that. I think he can score 32 or 33 fantasy points or more, get you 5 times value or more. He's $6,400 DraftKings salary, $200 less on FanDuel. And Bobby Portis has scored 38, 29, and 41 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 31, 32, and 25 minutes. So I prefer that FanDuel price where he's only $6,200. Like compared to Draymond Green at $7,000 FanDuel, I'd probably go with Bobby Portis on FanDuel, but I'll probably pay up the $200 extra on DraftKings for Draymond Green. But I like Bobby Portis here versus the Boston Celtics. The other guy I like is Jaren Jackson Jr. from the Memphis Grizzlies playing the Golden State Warriors. And Jaren Jackson Jr. has averaged 31.8 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 27 minutes per game with a 26% usage rate. He's projected at 30.3 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.1 times value. He's $5,900 DraftKings salary, $200 more on FanDuel, and he scored 46, 23, and 17 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 34, 17, and 23 minutes. So this pick is contingent on Jaren Jackson Jr. getting 30 plus minutes. If he does, I think this is a great pick with a lot of value. But if he doesn't, then not so good. But I think he will get close to or over 30 minutes. So I like Jaren Jackson Jr. here versus the Golden State Warriors. Okay, another guy whose minutes have come down the past couple of games, but he could easily play 30 minutes or more and just crush value here, especially on FanDuel. So I like this play quite a bit, especially for tournaments, is Al Horford from the Boston Celtics playing the Milwaukee Bucks. Al Horford has averaged 29.4 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 29 minutes per game with a 15% usage rate. He's projected at 29.9 fantasy points here tonight, and that's 5.2 times value. He's $5,700 DraftKings salary, and he's $400 less on FanDuel. So I like that price on both sites, but I love that FanDuel price. Al Horford has scored 23, 15, and 34 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 25, 28, and 32 minutes. So you can see the last couple of games he has struggled, hasn't played a ton of minutes. His salary has come down, so I think he's a buy low opportunity. He could easily go out there and put up 35 to 40 plus fantasy points and just crush value. So I like Al Horford here versus the Milwaukee Bucks. Okay, another guy, and I like this play quite a bit. Take a look at Brandon Clark from the Memphis Grizzlies playing the Golden State Warriors. Now, Brandon Clark has scored 45, 47, and 31 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 33, 36, and 28 minutes. He's averaging 1.19 fantasy points per minute. He just wasn't playing a lot of minutes, but now he is. So he's got some pretty good upside here. He's $6,100 DraftKings salary, $200 less on FanDuel, and I think he can score 30 fantasy points or more, get you 5 times value or more. So I like Brandon Clark here versus the Golden State Warriors. Okay, moving on to the center position. Yeah, it looks like I've already given you all my center picks because they're also eligible at the power forward position. Draymond Green, Bobby Portis, Jaren Jackson Jr., Al Horford, and even Brandon Clark eligible at the center position. So that takes care of that. Thanks so much for tuning in, everyone. And make sure to check the lineup at the end of this video because I'm going to put a lot of time into this one, and I think you're going to like it.
If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smickety smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NBA slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again, and good luck.